So today you should have gotten an email that has your unique progress report link as well as this video right here. Now this video is also located under the week number 2 assignment section, right in between the link to the week 2 assignment as well as where you're going to submit your week number 2 assignment, so that if at any point you want to revisit this video about how to make the most of your progress report, you can definitely check it out. However, your unique progress report link is only in that email we provided you, so be sure to bookmark it, star it, do whatever you need to make sure you have easy access to your unique progress report link. Now, if you open it up right away, it's going to look something like this because you wouldn't have completed any assignments. However, as time progresses, you're going to have more and more assignments to be able to look at. But let's take a look at a quick example here. So let's go ahead and look at week 2, day 2 for this particular student. Now you can either click here and then go to view, or you can click on this arrow here. I think that's kind of the easier of the two options. At first, we can just see how many you got correct versus incorrect and what percentage that results in. However, when you click here, you'll see much more detailed analytics. So you have a bar graph here where you could see a visual of how many questions there were, how many correct attempts versus incorrect, and how many were unattempted. Maybe you ran out of time. And you can see the exact same data here on this table. Now, unfortunately, our developers weren't able to remove one of the two rows, so it's kind of repetitive. Just look at whichever row you want. It's the same information. The other tabs that are going to be really useful here, let's go to answers. So when it's a reading and writing week, absolutely you'll go to incorrect, and then you'll want to understand why it's not what you put and why it is what College Board is saying it should be based on their explanation. Now, I find that for reading and writing, going through the explanation usually is sufficient for you to really understand it. However, when you get into math weeks, like let's say week 3, it's going to be so important to not just read the explanation. For some people, maybe that's good enough, but in my opinion, math is really hard to just read. It's much more helpful when you see it worked out for you. And that's why I created 462 videos, one for each math question that you're going to complete in your time with me. So when you click here on the worked out solution link, it'll redirect you to a YouTube video. And notice this one's about a minute long. They vary in their length depending on how difficult the question was. And I work out the question from beginning to end. I'll usually show multiple approaches, and I'll show how to use key graphing calculator programs that I've provided you if and when it applies. Then, once you feel comfortable with the actual approach to the question that you got wrong, what's really important is to then redo those incorrect questions, just like I say in the practice schedule. Why? Because, as I mentioned in our reminders document, which is page 3 of your folder, it's not enough to just read math. Math must be done. So that's essentially how you'll use the incorrect tab to be able to go through the ones you got wrong. For reading and writing, reading the explanation. For math, watching the video. And then time analytics can be pretty useful. That way you can see about how many seconds did you spend on the question, what your average time was, what your best time was. All that is pretty good information to look at. But then the best part is subject-wise analytics. So notice you have the data featured both in this table format as well as in this bar graph kind of format. It's the same exact data, just different visuals. And what I would recommend is when you look at the different themes, you want to pay attention to any themes that you either got just as many incorrect as correct or more incorrect than correct. In this student's example, they didn't have a particular theme where they had more incorrect than correct, but notice command of textual evidence, it was a tie. And we definitely want to be getting more correct than incorrect on every single theme. So for this student, I'd be recommending, okay, they need to analyze command of textual evidence a little bit more, and maybe even inferences and words in context. I would say those are the top 3 that they really struggled with on that particular day. So command of textual evidence, inferences, words in context. So then I'd go back to Spotlight SAT. I would type Control F, put command of textual evidence, go to that specific module, and then I would watch this about 6-minute video in this case to not only understand how to approach that one question that we looked at together in class, but to revisit, in this case, a 3-step process for approaching all questions of the command of textual evidence theme. And then think about it. Did you really take that same approach when you attempted those questions? So what you could do then is you could go to the answers, go back to incorrect, again, type in command of textual, there we go. We can see command of textual evidence. So we got this one wrong and it was a command of textual evidence question. Let's see if you can reattempt it now and try to follow those 3 steps that you would have just seen in the 6-minute video. And then you could do the same thing for the second one that you got wrong of that theme. And you could do the same thing for the third one that you got wrong of that theme. And that's really how you start to become your own guide. You have all the resources you need, Now it's looking at the data to make it really specific, really personalized to where your own struggles are, and figuring out what areas do you need to revisit, analyze a little bit more deeply, see if you can approach it more in line with how I recommended in the Triple T document, and then go from there. Learning how to use data to drive your own learning is not only going to be helpful for this SAT program, but it's going to help you in college and in years to come.
And remember, you got this.